You are now listening to FNB Radio.
And welcome to F&B Radio. My name is Lindsay Collins, and I am your host. Welcome back. I love those Jingle bells. What was it about the time of Frank Sinatra, or whoever sang that version? Dean Martin? They all kind of run together. I know they're different people, but they're kind of all the same in a way. What was it about spelling stuff that made it sexier in the 60s? People were like, just spell out your problems and maybe it won't be so obvious. Or spell out your things to, increase enthusiasm around it. It's like COMEOVERTOMYHOUSE. Mickey Mouse, remember he was on that shit. MICKEY. You know the rest, but like, do people not know how to spell? Were they like, let's help people out with their literacy by making a catchy song and then spelling something? What if people were like, I am so DEPRESSED this holiday season, you know? Or that one song where they were like spelling out divorce. My dear, you know how to spell divorce. Anyway, I think it's just hilarious when people try to, spell in song. So it's my holiday jingle. That's about as holiday spirit as you're going to get from me. Although I am coming back to life, mostly because of all of your kind messages. Thank you to everyone who reached out in all sincerity. And then I'm going to move on because I feel like I make this show too much about my own personal feelings and problems. and that's why you love me. And that's also why you're like, this can't just be one continuous update on like how you're doing. At some point you have to talk about shrimp cocktail and ways to not make it rubbery. You know, I feel that obligation. And also I should, because anyway, all of the messages, all of the love, all of the sweet condolences. And honestly, it wasn't a lot of condolences because there's no real losses that have happened yet. But just the understanding and literally some cards got mailed to my house. You know who you are. Thank you so much. There's nothing like a real card, to say like, hey, thinking about you. So you guys really helped me feel way more okay, way more human, and just like in general, like felt like I could keep it together. So here I am on December 7th coming at you with a hot new holiday episode. I've noticeably not been doing holiday content. And we'll see as the month goes on. I'm feeling a little cheerier, feeling like a little bit more like I want to do something fun. I have a cocktail in mind, even though I don't drink anymore because I get so catastrophically hungover that I can barely live my life. But I still do love the idea of drinking. And I love cocktails. And there's one in particular that I've had in mind. It's so fun. And if you still can drink without hating yourself, you're going to love it. Okay? So I'm going to start creating some holiday content. I'm feeling myself coming back to life. And also it's just really hard to not like get into the spirit of the season when you have little kids. My little kids are so excited about Christmas and about the holidays. Mostly about presents and trees and sparkly things and lights and, cookies. So I'm in that zone too. No, thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for hanging in there and sending kind words of encouragement when I had that mild breakdown on the air last time right before Thanksgiving. Oh boy. That's the cool thing about a podcast. You can literally say whatever you want. No one's going to come and give you any notes. I mean, if they do, you can just be like, it's my podcast. I don't care. But nobody gave me any negative notes. They only gave me positive notes. So that just encourages me to continue to just do whatever I want, which could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. We're still kind of unsure. But it's the holidays. Okay, here's one thing that I normally do is I get a late jump on the holidays. But this year, because I have little kids, they start early. Like they want the tree up right away. So that's been rocking and rolling. I've been making cookies. I went to a friend's house. Shout out to Maureen Henry. who, by the way, this show at Head High, the Rip City show that's happening, it's a sketch comedy show. It's happening next. Listen to the uncertainty in my voice. Next Saturday, December 17th. That's right. Yeah, next Saturday, December 17th, 7:30 at Head High. Okay, there's so many cool things happening in that sentence that it's like hard to, you have to really like slow it down and really take it all in. First of all, it's at Head High, which is like the coolest gallery. And it's right in downtown Charleston. They've been hosting just like hit after hit, like amazing, amazing art shows. And they're always, it's a spectacular space run by Tim McManus. He is, as I told him earlier in the DMs, I was like, the McManus, you. The McMahon is you. Get it? He's the man, is what I'm trying to say. It's his space. It's this beautiful little jewel box of a gallery with bright, bright, bright walls. That's their whole tagline, the brightest walls in the city. And they truly are. But this is the first time that I've seen, maybe I'm wrong. I know they've shown some films. They've done a little, like, I want to say like some live activations, whatever the fuck that means. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm saying it poorly, but I'm just saying I don't think they've ever done a comedy show. I could be wrong. You know, I'm wrong all the time. I live in a little cave in North Charleston, so there's things that I miss. But Rip City is an experimental comedy show created by my friends Mari and Henry. They are also known as Nameless Numberhead. I talk about them on the show all the time. If I wasn't so underground, I would, not in the cool way, I mean like buried in work. I would have them on the show to talk about Rip City because the last one that we did in November, I had a sketch in that show, but so did a bunch of other amazing people. And it was at Sully's place, Silver Hill Studios, and it sold out. And it was like an amazing success because it's hard to do. I don't know. It's hard to leave your house for any reason at all, but it's definitely hard to fill a large place with people coming to watch a show. So that was amazing. And then the tickets were only live for like a day. And then the show sold out. So people are excited to see sketch comedy. And I always have to explain it like this because a lot of people, and I know that when I say this, you're going to be like, hey, I say that. But people call it skits, okay? Everyone from my mom to anyone that's not in comedy, like they are all like, I think they did a little skit. And I don't know where the word skit comes from, but I can assure you that no one in comedy calls it a skit. It's called a sketch, okay? Like you're doing a doodle, sketch. S-K-E-T-C-H, sketch. It's a sketch. It's not a skit. Whenever you call it a skit, it makes me feel like you just put me in little kid pants. Like I'm in a preschool and I'm doing a skit. I don't know why. Uh-oh. Who's texting me? Wouldn't that be great if somebody could live tweet me and text during these shows? We've talked about that before. It's never going to happen. I can barely do the show with any consistency, much less be like, hey, everybody, here's a planned time where you can reach me and I'll answer you. Anyway, they're not skits, okay? They're called sketches. And I just want to say that because I feel like a lot of comedians are too polite to correct people, but behind the scenes, they are judging you. And I just don't want you to end up like getting accidentally judged by a comedian that's too, self-deprecating to like correct anyone. Anyway, so Rip City, let's put it in like, let's really dumb it down. Sketch comedy equals Saturday Night Live. It's something you write and it's like a funny scene that you write ahead of time. And then you practice it a little bit. And in Saturday Night Live's case, they write the show at the beginning of the week. All the writers get in the writer's room. They pitch their ideas. They select the ones that they're going to use for that week. And then they rehearse all week. Improv is where you step into a scene with a partner. And from that very moment, from the very word go, you're just making it up for the first time. You didn't write it ahead of time. So that's the difference, like loosely, in improv and sketch, which a bunch of people sent me this article about improv and how it helps you deal with uncertainty. And if you came to my Creative Mornings talk, you know that I wholeheartedly agree in no uncertain terms that I think if you want to be a better podcast host or like anyone that deals with the general public or even just a better partner to your significant other, take an improv class. It really is an amazing mental exercise in listening and responding and dealing with things that you can't control. So that's improv. But Rip City, I don't know how this turned into a history of comedy and its various forms show, but that's what it is now. Rip City is a sketch show. So we do write the sketches ahead of time, and then they get performed live in front of an audience. So it is literally Saturday Night Live, but for Charleston. And it's really, really fun. The only catch about Rip City is that you can't have performed it before. So like you couldn't take the Perone sketch and do it again because that's kind of lazy. It has to be something that you're playing around with or maybe in the process of writing or working on. And it's just sort of a place to put it up, put it in front of people and see what they think. So it ends up being a really, really good time. I don't know why I'm spending so much time talking about it since there's no more tickets available, but I just wanted to say a big shout out to everyone involved because it's pretty cool that it's happening. There's going to be another one in January. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I went and decorated cookies at Mari and Henry's house and we had a hell of a time. I've just been feeling a lot more in the holiday spirit. I went to the Post House. It's not their holiday market, but it's basically centered around the Post House in Mount Pleasant, which is one of my favorite places to be in Mount Pleasant or anywhere, really. And they had so many cool vendors at this holiday market. And there's holiday markets going on all over the place, like all around Charleston, like pretty much any day this month, you can find amazing, amazing holiday markets with local vendors, with people that are just making cool shit and you can buy it for gifts. It's something I highly recommend because I'm like, if you're going to spend your money on a capitalistic holiday that's literally designed to make you spend money buying shit you don't need, the very least you could be supporting a small business. So this is one of my favorite ways to do that. And there's so much talent in Charleston. I got some amazing things. Carolina Creamware was a highlight. She had these candle holders and they're honestly so beautiful and so chic. And she hand paints ornaments and mugs, and it's just absolutely extraordinary pottery. So she was a real highlight that I got to meet her and see her at the holiday market, and I picked up some gifts there. There was a vendor out of Brooklyn called Porta that had the most amazing tableware, anything from like platters to serving spoons to linens, glassware. Like it was unbelievable. There's just so much cool stuff happening in Charleston. So definitely keep your eyes peeled. I'm going to share some of my favorite markets that are happening coming up. And then just a personal plug, because I gotta. Jeremy's in a market with a bunch of amazing artists and makers at Bar Rollins on December 18th, which is a Sunday. So I think it's from 4 to 8. But he's going to have some amazing sketches that he's not comedy. Oh my God. Now I've just schooled you guys on sketch comedy. And then I've muddied the waters. Anyway, they're charcoal sketches. Okay. Now we're talking about a visual medium. Thank you for coming to my art school. It's basically like going to RISD by listening to this podcast. Yeah, he doesn't do a lot of these, but there's some charcoal sketches that are absolutely gorgeous that are going to be framed. And for the first time ever, he's doing some prints of the Pants series. So I don't know if you saw his series a while back. It's called Pants. No, it's not. It's called Casual Satisfaction. And these were a huge hit. There was only 7 of them, and they all went to the most amazing places and the most amazing people. But he's now doing some prints that will be for sale at a lower price point. So it is something that you could actually gift someone. And I think prints are super rad. I have a print of Isabel Bornstein's, and I love it. I think prints are an amazing way to collect an artist without, if you're like a millennial like me, like I can't afford art. I want to. I can't afford it all the time. That's not to say that I don't occasionally like allocate money and say like I'm going to make an investment, because I think originals are amazing. But if you can't afford to buy an artist's original work, it's not on the artist to like lower their prices so you can afford it, but a print is a great way to make it accessible. So there'll be some prints there. And then I heard he's going to do these kind of out of the box little, I can't even talk about them because I don't know enough about them, but there's going to be some other surprises there. And I think the kids are also going to be trying to sell some of their drawings, which would be so adorable that I might cry. But yeah, amazing artists will be at that market. Isabel Bornstein will be there. Bay Sapphire, Nim. He's going by Nim now. He's like Prince. He's changed his name. He's no longer Nathan Edwin McClements. He's just Nim. NEM. And his work is amazing. He'll be there. So many different people. I'm forgetting a lot, but that's just what's on my very scattered brain. In any case, it's really so early in the month. And it's also like I'm feeling that push to end the year on a strong note. I don't mean a busy note necessarily. Like I'm encouraging people to do less these days. But I do mean a strong note. Like make sure you're spending your time doing the stuff that you want to do because there's so much out there and people feel obligated to go to parties and do all this stuff. And if that's like exciting to you and you've got your outfits all picked out, like hit the party scene and do it. Or if you want to go to markets, but you're like, I don't really have the money for that. Like you can still go and just chill and check out stuff and be inspired. Or you can stay home and like rest and watch movies and drink hot chocolate. Or you can be like me and break your espresso machine by trying to foam eggnog. I knew it. I've done this before. I didn't actually break the machine, thank God. But it did make such a high-pitched squeal when it tried to like steam and froth eggnog because it's so thick and there's so many eggs in it. It didn't scramble the eggs, which was what I thought might happen. But it did not work. So I think next time I will just make milk and then cut it with either a splash of eggnog and then kind of fortify it with eggnog spices. So I'll report back. Maybe that'll be some holiday content I can make. An eggnog latte for those who like the nog. But yeah, I'm taking it slow. I'm making the most of what's left of this year and I'm doing what feels fun to me. And so it's not a lot of, I was looking back at all the holiday content that I've created over the last 2 years. And this is usually like I told you, my Super Bowl. But yeah, I'm just kind of going at a slower pace. And it kind of is hard for me in some ways. And in some ways it feels really nice. So I hope you guys are making this holiday season whatever you want it to be. Because after this, it's just going to be January. And that's DEPRESSING. What else is going on? I'm headed home for the holidays and I am doing one like small party with my family. And I was kind of narrowing it down on what to make because snacks kind of rule the day for me. I especially after Thanksgiving, I'm like not as into the idea of a huge meal. Just because we just did all that. And it's like, wow, that's a lot. But I am into the idea of hors d'oeuvres, fancy or not. But I tend to lean fancy. If you know anything about me, I want them to be fancy, difficult, impressive, impactful hors d'oeuvres. And there doesn't have to be a lot, but I think a mix of like 5 to 7 different hors d'oeuvres, and you got yourself a party. And they need to kind of run the gamut between light, bright, savory, rich, fatty, special, things that you wouldn't normally make for yourself. So here's where I landed, and I'm going to try to make some of these ahead of time and post them if I feel ambitious. So here they go. In no particular order. Shrimp cocktail with Bouchon's cocktail sauce. When I worked at Bouchon in Yountville, I was in charge of the raw bar at one point in time. And so I had to make all of the mignonette, all of the cocktail sauce. And to this day, it continues to be like the best cocktail sauce I've ever had. And everywhere I go, I'm like, this cocktail sauce sucks. Even if it's good, it's just not right because the Bouchon cocktail sauce is so fucking perfect. It just can't be denied. I have that written down. Maybe I'll scale it down into a normal size because it usually makes like a number 10 can of ketchup's worth of cocktail sauce. And that's a bit much. I'm not going to be having a party that big. But shrimp cocktail with Bouchon cocktail sauce, crispy olives stuffed with garlic, breaded with panko, fried to golden brown, and served with a Calabrian chili marinara. This is, full disclosure, this is a Bon Appetit recipe, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. It's absolutely perfect. The crust on this panko breading is flawless. It involves cornstarch, and I don't care who I put it in front of. Usually they're like, I don't like olives, and then they still like this recipe. It is one of the best hors d'oeuvres, like one-biters, maybe I've ever had. And that's a strong statement because I used to work in a place where their job was to put out canapes, and they were all very, very good. I've had some bad canapes in my life. You know, you have the ones where people didn't think about it. You're like, how am I supposed to eat this in one bite? That's usually the like pitfall of the canapé. You're like, yeah, it tastes good, but like this is literally impossible. Now I look like a fool at this party. Like, don't make your guests look like a fool. Don't make your guests choke. Don't make your, oh my God. I got to stop right there because in the theme of talking about sketch comedy, one of the times that I laughed the hardest was at a Tim Robinson sketch. I may have talked about this on the show before, but you should go back and watch it right now. The show is called I Think You Should Leave. And there's a sketch where he chokes at the table when he sees a celebrity. And he ends up, yeah, it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. But he's like embarrassed that he's choking and he tries to pretend that he's not choking. And that's, you know, not a spoiler. You just have to watch it. But please don't make your guests Tim Robinson themselves at a party, okay? Make the bite small enough and like clean enough that it doesn't like shatter all over their face or like they have to then like spit half of it back into their napkin or it's too hot. You know, you got to think about all these things. So olives, they check all that box. All that box, all those boxes. Yeah, oh my God. Oh, I'm a little rusty. You take 2 weeks off and it's like you can't even talk. Okay, olives and crispy Calabrian chili. Wait, crispy olives and Calabrian chili. There it is. What else? Gougères. Always. Every year. Every holiday. Gougères. Sometimes I stuff them with whipped cream cheese and pepper jelly. Sometimes I stuff them with cream cheese. Sometimes I just always stuff them with cream cheese. No, sometimes they're just fine on their own. They don't need anything at all inside. Sometimes you can put Mornay inside. Sometimes you can put caviar and creme fraiche and chive. You can live your best life, but whatever you do, make the Gougères. They're so fucking good. And they're just so classic. Okay? Okay. What else? What else is on the menu? I like how I won't write any of this down, even though I know I'm going to talk about it. I'm just sitting here, just stalling, trying to remember what else I'm going to make. Here's the real thing that I don't want to talk about is I have to keep pausing the show because I ate Moroccan chili for lunch and now I have like insane indigestion. So about every 5 sentences, I have to stop and then I belch a disgusting belch into the microphone and then I laugh about it and then I cut it out. So I'm breaking my own rule of editing, but truly you guys would not want to hear the alternative. Okay. Oysters, always. I always get oysters on the half shell at Christmas, even if it's just for me and Jeremy. I usually serve them with a wet martini. And I'm pretty non-imaginative about like trying to switch that up because you really just can't do any better in my mind. So I'll probably get a couple of those, even if it's just a private stash to hide in the outside fridge for Christmas Eve. That is like one of my all-time favorite moves. And then on the sweet side, because I was gifted a candy thermometer. That's like a bumper sticker that you see on the back of like a lonely old lady's card. Just thermometer. I got a candy thermometer last year, so I'm going to make some sort of brittle, and I'm going to just have that kind of around. And then my genius little sister makes these macaroons with her husband, and they're truly perfect. So I got 2 sets of those because, again, a one-biter, something small, something chic, something impressive that is complete with just one bite. And we can talk about dips. I do love dips. I love chips and dip, obviously with caviar, always. But something about just something you can pick up off a tray and pop it into your mouth and doesn't require any dipping. And then you're that asshole that the chip keeps breaking and then your piece of chip or cracker is like splintered into the dip and you're ashamed. Just obviously I've had some bad experiences with being embarrassed with how hard it is for me to eat people's hors d'oeuvres. So just, I really keep that in mind. So dips are fun for like an intimate group, but if you're serving like, more than 10 people, you might want to stay away from the dips. It's controversial, I know, but I'm just telling you. There was one time at the end of a party where there was half a dip left, and I was like, will I put this away in the fridge? Fuck no. The answer is no. So in that case, did I ever want to eat it at all? Think about that. If you wouldn't save it after the party's over, why would you serve it to your guests? You know what I mean? Now, if you want to pipe some dip onto a chip, holy shit, I just thought of that right now. That's kind of brilliant. If you want to make a dip and instead of putting it into a bowl, put it into a piping bag and then individually pipe dip onto said chip or cracker, whew, I feel like I just changed the world. I'll definitely be doing that because a French onion dip, caramelized French onions, creme fraiche, chive, piped onto like a sturdy kettle chip or even a little cracker or a pita chip, that could be fire. Okay, so maybe I'll add that to my list. And then, on the sweet side, we're doing macaroons. I'm sorry, macaron. Thank you. And those peppermint Lindsay's, which I literally made them one year off this like blogger's website. And I was talking with a friend about this. I'm like not a riffer, and I'm also not a riffer, meaning I won't go off script and just like make up a recipe. I won't even like adjust a recipe unless I've made it more than 3 times and I feel like I've given it every chance. You know what I mean? To be right. And it's just not, and it needs something. But even if I make it 3 times and it's not right, I probably just wouldn't make it again. I wouldn't try to then fix it. But anyway, I won't riff, and I also won't just like rando. Jeremy randos all the time. He'll be like, check out this recipe on like Cindy's Bacon Slut. It's like always like some wacky ass name where you're like, okay, you little slut baker, you little food porn, Polly's food porn. Like it's always just something random like that where you're like, what is this site? Half Baked Harvest excluded because everything she puts on her blog, I'm like, you are the queen of the food blog. All of her recipes fucking rule. But the others, I'm just like, it's real hit or miss. I'm not saying there's not good ones. There's incredible ones. In fact, there's low key, like amazing ones. But I don't have time to roll the dice, you know? I don't have the money to roll the dice. Have you guys been to the grocery store? I can't like try it. And if it doesn't work, I'm just like, oh, well, just throw this shit in the trash. No, I want like time tested, well-tested recipes or I just won't do it. So I'm kind of boring. I'm kind of like missionary. Is that okay to say? I kind of go missionary when it comes to recipes. I'm not trying to go off book. I'm not trying to experiment. I'm not trying to get loose. And this has nothing to say about my, how I am in bed. So just I see your mind going there. It's not that. There's no correlation. I'm talking about strictly in recipes. I'm missionary. So yeah, I went off book 1 year and it paid off. And that's where I got this peppermint Lindsay's recipe. And she literally, it's a blogger recipe when they were like, you can use your kid's medicine cup as a cutter to cut these perfect little peppermint patties. And I was like, oh my God, this is the most mommy blog thing of all. And then it worked so well. I was like, God, this bitch is a genius. So I make those every year. They're amazing. It's literally just a peppermint patty. It's essentially just powdered sugar and sweetened condensed milk and mint flavoring or essence or whatever, or magic, mint magic, I think it's called. And then you enrobe it in a melted chocolate with coconut oil. Couldn't be easier. They're very fun to make. You put a little sprinkle on or a piece of sea salt. You're good to go. And those will be the 2 sweet offerings. Maybe an affogato if the party's getting wild and people need a boost. You put a little peppermint ice cream in there. You pour some espresso over it. Maybe you drown it in nog first, or you put some sherry on top. God, I mean, I'm just having all these great ideas right now. I think I am in the holiday spirit. I just don't realize it. I'm so in the holiday spirit, I can barely get these words out. I'm going to have to wrap this show up. I've had too much caffeine. I'm too excited about the holidays now. I'm ready for my party. I hope you're going to throw a cocktail party. I hope you're going to do something fun. There is still so many things that are on F&B's Instagram. The holiday guide that I made with Amanda Greeley last year, she photographed the whole thing. She honestly styled the whole thing. We did a Fernet and Coke float with peppermint ice cream, and it was fucking gorgeous. So yeah, flip through that. There's some martini recipes on there. There's some ideas for cocktails and food and snacks, but whatever you do, just, invite some people over and make merry. Missionary or not. Do it any way you want. I love you. I'll see you next week. If you got a ticket, I'll see you at Rip City. I hope you come to the Bar Rollins pop-up. Jeremy will be there. I'll be there. Probably not from 4 to 8, though. Probably from 4 to 6. I'm an early girl. But yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for sending me so much love. You guys really, honest to God. I don't want to get all weepy again, but it really helps. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week. Bye. Bye, bye, bye.
Pour passer de nuit à Oslo, on enverrait des cartes postales. Je laisserai un mot sur le frigo. On déciderait de se faire la malle. Ta famille, les amis.